Hello, welcome to Insight Sports Talk with your host, Joanna Rosselli. And this beautiful Tuesday night, January 25th, alongside me, I am joined by my amazing co host, Ed Cole. Hi, Ed. How are you?
Good evening, Joanna Rosalie. How are you?
I am wonderful. How how was this last weekend of football? Is this an NFL playoff weekend that was just so jam packed of emotion, which we will go ahead and get into that here momentarily, which will be the second part of our segment. But just real quick, like that emotion in this weekend was something for the ages, and we probably won't experience again for who knows how many more years to come.
Yeah, it was ridiculous that all four games came down to the final play. Three of the first four games in the weekend, Joanna, came down to game-winning field goals. Bengals win on a walk-off against the Titans. 49ers, of course, beat your Packers at Lambeau to advance to the NFC Championship, and the Rams withstand a crazy rally from Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, and Matt Gay kicks a 30-yard field goal to send them to the NFC Championship game. And then, of course, probably the greatest game I've ever seen ever, playoffs, regular season, whatever. Bills and the Chiefs, that was all that and then some. Just the final 2 minutes of that game is some of the best football, some of the best sports I've ever seen. The last 152, 25 points scored, 13 seconds left. You're Josh Allen. You're thinking, I think we got this thing wrapped up, Joanna. I think we're set for the AFC Championship. But wait a minute. You're talking about the other guy on the sidelines, the human X-Files. Yeah, he was out of it. He was out of this world with 13 seconds to go, and what Mahomes did to take them down there, force overtime, and they hit Kelsey on the touchdown in overtime. That was one of the greatest finales and just complete games I've ever seen. And I'm
Just
sure
don't
you would
give it
agree
away
with me.
entirely because we're still gonna get into all the nitty gritty, Ed. So let's go ahead and
Oh, sorry.
save a little bit more about of that. But before we do get into our NFL segment, which will be bringing you all the action of what happened this past weekend and what we're gonna go ahead and look forward to this weekend ahead, I'm gonna go ahead and just run down some top news of the last few days that we've come across, and even today. So keep up with me, Ed, and we'll just touch on these real quickly here. One of the news of today has been that Sean Payton is stepping down as the head coach of the New Orleans Saints after 16 years. So that comes a year after Drew Brees decides to go ahead and announce his retirement. Now we have the coach for the Saints saying farewell to the organization as well. So that to me came to a little bit of a surprise. I was expecting, I know it was going to come sooner rather than later, but I was expecting that to be maybe another year out of Sean Payton with the New Orleans Saints. Unfortunately, it came a little bit sooner than I expected. For others, maybe are not so surprised that his tenure with the organization is coming to an end.
Of course, and he's still kind of waiting around. Sean Payton is to see what his next move is. I'm sure he'll consult with his family. I know he says he wants to try to get an analyst job. Well, try. He'll get one, whether it's Fox or CBS or wherever he goes, whether it's Amazon. Whoever picks up Sean Payton is going to pick up an absolute phenom as a TV analyst. But yes, what he was able to do in his 16 years, Joanna, as the head coach of the New Orleans Saints, bringing them a world championship, that was a floundering franchise before Sean Payton took over. And then, of course, a couple months later, once after he became the head coach, he drafted a guy named Drew Brees. He brought that guy in, and the rest is history. The music, the beautiful music they made together, of course, down in the Bayou, a place that's very well known for music. They made some beautiful music down there in the Bayou. But yeah, it's great for Sean. He walks off, and who knows if he'll go back to another coaching opportunity. I'm sure there'll be some other opportunities. Just like there's 9 openings this year. Who knows? Come next season, if he's in the booth and something opens up, there's multiple openings again. Joanna, maybe he'll get that itch to go back and want to be a head coach again.
Who knows? Anything is possible. He did say he is stepping down as the head coach. No retirement announcement as of this moment. Anything can change. He can maybe go to another team, go to an analyst position. Who knows? So that's still something that's going to be left. That's still up in the air. And of course, we will get to know more of that in the weeks to come and leading up through the following season. But the next thing is one of the things that a little bit that I thought was very interesting as I was reading over the last couple of days is robo umpires will be used or are to be used in AAA for the 2022 season. So that's inching a little bit closer to them making an MLB appearance. And it's actually happened because I came across a player. I can't recall the name, but I had seen it on social media, kind of like mocking it a little bit of how is he supposed to argue with the robo umpire on a call, on a bad call, a pitching call, or what it may be. You know, you're fighting with the electronic, with the robot. He does make a little bit of sense, you know. And this is going to be the home plate umpire is going to be the one that's going to be a robo umpire. But you know, how far are we seeing that from them making an appearance in the MLB? Is it going to be the following season? We know there's a lot of these changes that are being implemented and kind of testing now, whether those, you know, mostly in the minor leagues and how that fares, whether they decide to go ahead and implement that into the MLB or not. So that's how they tested the whole clock with the pitching and all of that. It all started with minor leagues and then made its way up to the majors. So this is another test with the robo umpires. I don't agree with that. I don't think that we should have robo umpires out on the field, whether that be home plate or any other base. It doesn't matter. That takes away from the game, the essence of the game. So that's where I stand. I'm really interested to see how this is going to evolve or progress in AAA throughout the 22 season, and something that I would definitely be keeping a closer eye on. So your thoughts on this, Ed?
I think it is going to be interesting to see how it works at your AAA level. Of course, as you mentioned, they're going to experiment with it down there before they bring it up to the major leagues. They're not just going to introduce it in the major leagues and just say, okay, here's our robo umpires. This is what we're going to run with. They're going to try it down there at that level, see if it works, if the technology works, and if it's feasible, if it's going to work throughout the course of a season. Because, of course, with robo, you talk about robo, Joe, you're talking about technology. Technology is bound to fail. There's going to be a lot of issues. There's going to be some times where those umpires are working right. The technology is working well. And then there's going to be times when there's going to be an all-out failure. So what are you going to do as an organization, as Major League Baseball, when you're looking at that level? And if there's things that are going wrong with these umpires, what's the plan B? What's the plan C in case these things don't work out? Do you have a plan B? Are you going to re-implement human umpires in case these robo umpires go into fritz? You don't know.
Yeah. Then there's the other thing. Definitely, there's a lot of things to definitely consider as these robo umpires are being introduced to AAA, and how this affects and what benefits and what are some of the pros and cons of having these robo umpires, and whether they do stick around or not. So that is still left to be seen. The next on the list, which is leading to NFL, our NFL talk here, in this past NFL jam-packed weekend action, is the weekend views. This has been the best playoff weekend in history, notching or topping 38.2 million viewers in the history of the viewership. So that's was also a total of 63.3 billion minutes of Super Wildcard and divisional round coverage that was consumed by all the viewers who tuned in into these great games this past weekend. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump onto the next thing here, Ed. So we'll go ahead and jump into NFL here just shortly. But the news of just the afternoon of the night, which has been released, David Ortiz, Big Papi, is the lone Hall of Famer inductee for 2022 Hall of Fame inductee class. So he does make the fourth Dominican Republic player to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. So knowing of this and announcing this news, Ed, just gives me like the chills, and so proud. And seeing that video of Big Papi receiving the news that he's a Hall of Fame inductee, he will be enshrined, is just like I was just full emotion, like wanted to cry. So just so happy, so elated, and we'll get into that a little bit later on in the show in our MLB segment, okay? But I want to go ahead and kick off our NFL segment here, and I want to go ahead and do a little bit of a time travel to last weekend, And I want to go ahead and kick that off with the Cincinnati Bengals and the Tennessee Titans, which was the first game of this past weekend, where the Bengals went ahead and were victorious against the Tennessee Titans 19-16. As you mentioned that at the beginning of the show, all of these 4 games, 49ers versus the Packers, the Bills versus the Chiefs, the Rams versus the Buccaneers, all were decided on the last play of the game. So with the exception of the Bills and the Chiefs, which we'll go ahead and get to that, and it became a little bit of a controversy. Well, that's still to come. But go ahead and talk a little bit about the Bengals and the Titans. That's one game that I kind of was. Well, we did have a prediction, so that one we both got right. Happy to see Cincinnati go ahead and make it to the next round here in the playoffs. And they are just 1 inch away from possibly taking a trip to the Super Bowl, Ed.
Yeah. What they did for Joe Burrow to go down 9 times in that game, Joanna, he was sacked 9 times, but the Bengals still find a way to gut it out defensively, offensively, defensively, and of course, special teams. That's the topic of du jour. We'll talk about this week. And of course, Evan McPherson, the rookie kicker, knocks down a field goal at the end after Ryan Tannehill throws an interception to Logan Wilson, and one of the 3 interceptions that Tannehill threw. And I'm sure when that happened, his heart must have just fell inside of his body. And then Cincinnati takes full advantage of it, and they win with their special teams, and they advance to the AFC Championship for the first time, I believe, since 1988. So it's been a long time coming, and I'm so happy for Burrow and all of his guys that they were able to rally, go down to Nashville. I called it. You called Cincinnati too, right? Over Tennessee. You called Cincinnati over Tennessee, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Great game, though. What a great way to start the weekend, right?
Definitely. And then just, the Tennessee did throw, 3 interceptions. So I'm surprised that the Bengals did actually not get a little bit more advantage over Tennessee with those 3 interceptions. But just overall, Joe Burrow has proven himself as a quarterback, not only in Cincinnati, but I think to a lot of fans. And especially in these playoffs, and same as Josh Allen, which we will go ahead and talk about here shortly. But just a great game all around. Passing yards, 280 total yards. There was actually a really pretty close game. Just if you just look at the numbers, just with the exception of the rushing yards of this, which is the Tennessee could have probably gotten a little bit further in, because Cincinnati only had 65 and Tennessee had 140. So another little factor there that I thought would have maybe been to the benefit of Tennessee. But, one of the things that also, like I mentioned, that those interceptions affected them a little bit in the game as well.
Yeah, that and the fact that they were 1 for 8 on third down, Joanna, that's one of the primary reasons why they only scored 16 points, because they were not able to sustain drives. When you don't convert on 7 of your 8 third down conversions, you cannot sustain drives. You can't get anything going offensively against Cincinnati. And as you mentioned, Burrow, 348 yards, didn't throw a touchdown, threw an interception, but Jamar Chase came up big. T. Higgins came up big. 2 of his top wide receivers. C.J. Uzomah, one of the best tight ends in the league. He had 71 yards receiving. Joe Mixon, one of the best young running backs. He had 6 catches for 50. He had 105 yards of total offense. Mixon did, and a touchdown. It's just Burrow has so many weapons at his disposal, and the defense holding them again to 16 points, and that crucial 3rd interception that Tannehill threw, which led to Evan McPherson's game-winning field goal to send them to Kansas City for the AFC title game.
Yeah, they just had all the pieces all very well lined up for Cincinnati, and just be able to go ahead and be the better team to move on to the next round. So very, very impressed by these guys, and just looking forward to see what they have coming ahead to next this coming up weekend. Moving on. Yes.
So a good brother of mine, DL White, he chimes in on Facebook. He says Cincinnati's a team of destiny. I agree that. He says they're hungry, and they have a chip on their shoulder. I completely agree with everything you said, DL. That's absolutely right. It's a young, hungry football team who hasn't won in a long time. Never won a Super Bowl. Hasn't been to the playoffs in a long time. They've never been this far in over 30 years, DL. So I agree. Do you agree with him, Joe?
No, definitely. And I think when we have these teams that are, or yeah, these guys and these teams that are newer to the playoffs and it's fresh, you know, you're either going to be one of two things. You're going to come out hungry and you're going to fight tooth and nail to get on and to the next level, and then just going to, go from there. And you're going to make something of your team. You're going to make something of yourself or your players. Or you're going to do the opposite, and then it's just going to be too much for you, and you're just going to collapse, and that's going to be the end of it. And then who knows what happens from there. So it just all depends how you take it going in. But definitely, and I think this is the one of many for Cincinnati, for them being in the playoffs.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So moving on to game number 2, we had San Francisco 49ers and the Green Bay Packers. That was a hoot. I still cannot grasp myself around this game. I'm not sour. Okay. I'm surprised, but I'm not mad at it because I'll remember what I said, Ed, that Jimmy G comes out like he played last game. He was had an opportunity to go ahead and beat Aaron Rodgers. And he did. 49ers went and capitalized against the Packers 13-10. Another last decision game play of the game. So props to Jimmy G. He's been able to go ahead and prove himself, because remember, there were a lot of naysayers throughout in him coming back and throughout the beginning of the season that he was like his career was over. Like, it was not Jimmy G who you thought coming out of playing alongside Tom Brady, coming outside of the Patriots. Yeah, he had his struggles, but he's proven himself, and it's been acknowledged now. And I thought it was really cool when there was a moment, I don't know if you captured it, Ed, when they were showing Jimmy G and Aaron Rodgers actually, exchanging words and talking. I thought that was super cool. Yeah, I thought
that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, very, very amazing game. Still sad that my Packers lost. So there's one out for me. That the Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to pull through, but yeah, only one interception for Jimmy G. So that's definitely not bad at all. 225 yards for Aaron Rodgers, passing yards. So very, very, very impressive for him. Just looking at these numbers up and down it, and just even you watching the game, this could have gone to either of these guys. I actually thought that was probably even going to maybe even go to overtime to a certain point, as we were inching closer and how close they were getting. I'm glad I didn't, because I think I probably would have had a call to 911.
When Aaron took the guys down the field on that first drive, 69-yard drive, it was a methodical drive, Joanna. He just surgically took the 49ers apart on that drive. 10 plays, A.J. Dillon gets that 6-yard touchdown run, and they immediately go up 7-0. You're thinking, oh my gosh, is it going to be this kind of a game? Are the Packers going to have that kind of success against an outstanding 49ers defense? But give credit to the Niners. Give credit to Kyle Shanahan, his coaching staff, and his players. They manned up after that. They got punched squarely in the chops, and they took that, and they were like, okay, it's time to get this thing on. A couple weeks ago, we beat the Rams to make the playoffs. Last week, we went to Arlington, and we knocked off the Dallas Cowboys. So, okay, Aaron, that's one of your best shots you give us. Okay, let's respond in kind. They hold the Packers to 3 points after that. And then they go on a 10-0 run toward the end of the game. They hold the Packers to 263 total yards of offense in their own building, Joanna. And that defense they came to play.
No one freaking does that. Goes into the frozen tundra, goes into Green Bay Packers home during in the playoffs, and beats them. Like the way the Niners, and stop them, like you said. the Green Bay started off strong, 7 right away, but nothing was scored second quarter. You come
Mhm.
out halftime, San Francisco scores 3, field goal, and then 10. Like San Francisco did what they had to do to go ahead and stop Packers and Aaron Rodgers and company. And this is the result, 10-3 in the fourth quarter. And not that Aaron Rodgers was going to be able to go ahead and come back and capitalize like he usually does and maybe throw that Hail Mary heck of a throw. And that actually didn't, that we didn't see that happen. So still
No,
great game overall.
but what we did see, we saw the Packers special teams just implode on them. You had a block punt return for a touchdown. I think you had a blocked field goal, and then of course, Robbie Gould goes down and kicks the field goal to win the game for the 49ers. But that was one of the Achilles heels for the Packers all season long. And I know DL chimed in. He was surprised that the 49ers went to Green Bay because, as he mentioned, not many West Coast teams can't go to Green Bay, Wisconsin in that weather, in those conditions, with that crowd and win that ball game. But Jimmy G just had to do the basics, Joanna. He didn't have to be Clark Kent and jump in a phone booth and put on the cape and the uniform to do what he had to do to get the 49ers to win.
What? That would have been really cool if he would have gone Clark Kent.
That would have been cool.
The Packers.
If he would have went in the tunnel and then came back out with a Superman uniform on. For Jimmy, just do the basics. Don't do anything. Don't try to do anything extraordinary. You've got an outstanding defense. You've got weapons at your disposal. Wide receiver, tight end, running back. You got Deebo Samuel, one of the best two-way offensive players in the league. Elijah Mitchell was outstanding young running back. George Kittle, of course, we know George is one of the most outstanding tight ends in football. Just do what you need to do and don't mess the game up for the 49ers, Jimmy, because you've got a hell of a defense behind you.
You know what? Once that the snow started coming down, we know it was freaking hella freezing there. Of course, there's a reason why it's called the frozen tundra. And you have that because I thought it was rain. I'm like, is that rain? Is that snow? And then it's snow. And once it started sticking and everything, I was like, oh, this is it for San Francisco. This is Green Bay element. Here comes Aaron Rodgers. And lo and behold, that was not the case. And then that last, that blocked field goal, I lost it. Not gonna lie, I lost it. And then when you just go for that drive, I was like, oh my, that's game over.
And that's been something that's plagued the Packers all season long, Joanna. Just poor special teams play, and it reared its ugly head at the most inopportune time for Green Bay.
Yeah, definitely. And now one of the things that will be looming is Aaron Rodgers. He did say that he's going to take some time and make a decision. So we don't know what that will mean. We really, we can always read between the lines, coming back to to Green Bay, retirement, whatever what's gonna be, what's next for Aaron Rodgers. We know the story, the little bit of the drama that was at the beginning of this season. So I'm not gonna go ahead and look too far ahead. I'm just gonna take it as it comes, not read into between the lines and then see what's up for Aaron Rodgers, but that he did say that he will take some time to make a decision, whatever that will mean for him. Moving on to Sunday, we had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Los Angeles Rams, which was another heck of a game, Ed. And I'm glad I didn't miss it. I am disappointed in Tom Brady though. LA Rams, they beat not Aaron Rodgers. They beat Tom Brady. They beat Tampa Brady, like I like to call him, 30-27. Last seconds of the game. Oh my gosh! I really thought that Tom Brady was going to do what Tom Brady does and win in that Tom Brady fashion and be able to go ahead and or even just go to overtime, because one of the things I mentioned to you, because remember I had missed a good part of the game, like the middle portion of the game, and I'm like, oh, all right, well, Tom Brady's mad that I'm not watching the game. I start watching, they start coming back and kind of like get ahead. I'm like, they're gonna win. They freaking lose. So yeah, I just go ahead, Ed. I can't speak right now. I'm still disappointed. It still hurts.
The Rams go up 27-3, and Troy and Joe, are always they're talking about Super Bowl 51 and how Tom rallied back from the Falcons being down 25 to win the Super Bowl, and you just knew there was a run that Brady had left in them. They go on a 24-0 run, Joanna, and the place is going absolutely bananas. It was a mausoleum before that run when Suckup hits a field goal, Fournette gets 2 touchdown runs, Brady hits Mike Evans on a 55-yarder, and the place is absolutely just beside themselves. It is absolute chaos. But Matthew Stafford, in the biggest game of his life, he finds a way to rally his guys down there, 63 yards, hits Cooper Kupp on 2 big plays. And how did Cooper Kupp got wide open for 44 is beyond me, Joanna. How do you let the best wide receiver in football, arguably outside of Devontae Adams, how do you let that guy get behind you with no safety help? And he just absolutely
you
shouldn't. You're right. And so I'm like, Todd Bowles, Coach Bowles, you clearly dialed up the wrong defense because Kupp got behind you and smoked you, and then Matt Gay hits the field goal. They win the game. They're on the bird, getting ready to go back to SoFi to host the NFC title game. But what a incredible game! And like Aaron Rodgers, we'll see what Tom Brady. He'll take some time, as he mentioned. He'll consult with his family and see what he wants to do. But Tampa Bay, why would he want to leave the Buccaneers? That's the model organization. He's got weapons there. He's got great ownership there. Why would Tom want to leave and go anywhere else? He's at the top of his game physically, Joanna, and mentally. This guy's clicking on all cylinders. Why would he not want to run it back?
Seriously, like, no, TB is coming back. TB12 is back.
Yeah.
And, like he says, what is he gets asked? Which Super Bowl ring or Super Bowl is your favorite? The next one. Because you know what? Because he fell short this year, you know what he's going to do? He's going to go ahead and come back stronger and better like he does every year. But one of the things that really impressed me with Stafford and the Rams was that, remember there was a play that they did against the Cardinals in the game where Stafford is like, it's a fake throw. And he go ahead and then just like, he's going to throw it and he just goes back and then throws it and goes long.
Yes.
And he threw for that touchdown. They did the same thing with Arizona. They did the same thing to Tom Brady. Same exact play. I was like, oh, you did not. I'm like, Tom Brady, you should have caught that. You should have seen that. Like, or Tampa Bay and your team. Like, that was what got Rams over the Cardinals and exactly what got the Rams over Tampa Bay. So remember what I said the last show, that if the Rams came out and played the way that they did against the Cardinals, because they have a freaking spectacular team. They continue playing the way that they do, and they are. They have all around everything, all the pieces, all the tools, the defense, the offense, like everything is just like there for them, and it's in tune, like squeaky clean for the most part. So I like, they're gonna beat Tom Brady, and I will not surprise if they make it to the Super Bowl. I don't want an LA team in the Super Bowl, and I don't want LA going to the Super Bowl in their full freaking town. No, but I'll go on that rant a little later. But I just wanted to bring that up because that play, same play, back-to-back games, same fashion. I thought that was just amazing by Stafford.
It was. I was so impressed by Stafford. 366, 2 touchdowns. Most importantly, Joanna, in the interception column, 0. Didn't turn the ball over. The Rams did fumble 4 times. They lost 4 fumbles. But still, for Stafford to just stay within himself, Joe, and the way he ran down the field when Kupp made that last catch, and he's telling his guys, "Come on, we got seconds left. We got to get this thing together." He was so poised. I just love what he was able to do. And defensively, the Rams just came after him. Aaron Donald and Von Miller and Leonard Floyd, they were on Tom Brady's the entire time, just like they were the week prior on that Monday night against Kyler Murray in the Cardinals. They dialed that thing up to 50 as far as the intensity level was concerned, because they knew that's exactly what they needed to do to knock off Brady and the Buccaneers. Do not let Tom Brady breathe for a second, because if he does, he's going to do what he did in the 3rd and 4th quarter against you. And they almost blew that game. Yeah,
definitely.
Oh my gosh.
That was a great game. I was on the edge of my seat, like literally. And I tip my hat off to Stafford and the Rams. I'm not mad at it. Actually, I am. I'm mad at that one. A little sour. Come on, you're not. I should have known. Well, I kind of did know, but I still went with my heart and my Tom Brady because I stick with my guy. But oh well, what can you do? Moving on.
So DL chimes in again. He says, "Terrific Tom at 44 is still one of the top QBs in the league, no question. To Stafford's credit, he earned his check." I'm sure CK, that's what he means. That is why the Rams brought him to LA. Exactly, DL. That's why they gave up all those draft picks and they did what they had to do, traded Jared Goff to Detroit for this exact reason, for Stafford to take you to an NFC title game and hopefully, at least in their minds, potentially hosting the Super Bowl. That's why you brought Stafford here. You gave up all that draft capital and Jared Goff to do what he did on Sunday. And what they want to hopefully have him do on this Sunday in the NFC Championship game, knock off the Niners, go to the Super Bowl and win it.
Yes, most definitely, Ed. All right, going on to the last game of the weekend of Sunday night, which was, I think as the weekend progressed, these games just got better and better and better, because that final game of the weekend, which was the Bills and the Chiefs, I think that's been like the best playoff game I've seen since I don't know when, if not probably ever. It went into overtime. Again, last freaking seconds, tie that game up to go to overtime. I was yelling at the TV, screaming at the TV, like that was just all over the place. But it was, the Chiefs did it again. What did we call him? The Alien Files,
the Human X-Files,
the Human X-Files, whatever, all over again. 42 for the Kansas City Chiefs over the Bills, 36. Like, I wanted the Bills to win because that would have been nice, but then I'm like, I do want, Patrick Mahomes too, and the Alien, and it was just, I didn't care who won. I just wanted a good game, and we got that, definitely. But how about that fourth quarter, though, Ed? Like 15 points for the Buffalo Bills, 13 for Kansas City. And then we'll go ahead and get into this overtime. This is why I want to go ahead and touch on for this part before we go on to our next segment, just, a couple minutes. Is been a little bit of controversy. Some agree with it, some don't, because the team that has the football or the first possession, if they're the first to score, game over, they win.
But it has to be a touchdown or safety.
Well, yeah, touchdown or safety. So, and they win. So the other team does not have a chance or opportunity to go ahead and counter that. What do you think about that? I don't agree with it. I think that the other team should have an opportunity to go ahead and be able to, okay, what can they do? Can they go ahead and be able to go ahead and match that or not? Like, whether there's a score or not. If let's say if the team that has the possession first of the ball doesn't score, the other team go ahead, of course, granted, okay, then that's fine. Go ahead and call the game. But I think that they should give the opponent opportunity to go ahead and see, can they come back and match that or do one better, because you still have the opportunity to go ahead and go for that 2-point conversion. So your thoughts on that, Ed?
A friend of mine and I were talking. He was like, okay, so if you're Buffalo and you don't want to let Mahomes get the ball just once and you don't get the ball back, win the game in regulation. So there is no overtime period. But Josh Allen did everything he could within his human capacity, Joanna. They had to lead twice in the fourth quarter, and Mahomes has 13 seconds, and he drives 44 yards, and Butker kicks the field goal, sends it to overtime. Who does that other than the Human X-Files? Mahomes.
Right.
But yes,
I know, exactly.
I do agree. At least it should be like college, where both teams get at least one possession, and then let it go from there. If they continue to score and they go back and forth, they just go back and forth. But it is so disappointing for Allen and the Bills to not get a chance in overtime after one of the greatest game I've ever seen, playoffs or regular season, whatever. For Allen to throw 4 touchdowns, 329 yards, and he doesn't get a sniff in the playoff in that overtime period, It's not right, but
That's
I mean, it's the
yeah.
rules now. Maybe the NFL will revisit it in their owners' meetings in the offseason. I'm sure that'll be a topic of great conversation, and I'm sure the Bills will be one of the teams saying, okay, here's an amendment. We're voting on an amendment to the overtime rules that at least both teams get at least one possession in OT."
Yeah, because that totally like just seemed like I'm just not happy as a fan because I want the other team to go ahead and have an opportunity to see what is they can do. They can score like college football. You have baseball. You go to extra innings. What happens? So you go you have basketball. You go to overtime. Both teams have an opportunity. You go into soccer. Same thing. Hockey, etc. So why is or mention college football, college basketball? Oh, why not the NFL? What makes NFL the exception of only having one team have possession and not the other? So
because it's the NFL, Joanna, and they can. I don't. That's
not good enough answer for me.
That's not the good enough. That's not the best answer, but and honestly, it is the answer because it is the National Football League, and they set the precedent. They can do whatever they want.
All right. And well, aside from the precedent and doing whatever it is that you want to do, why? So I don't agree with it. I think that should be changed, and
it should.
They've done a couple other things where they've changed and they realized, okay, this is really not, ideal or it's not smart or the best thing that we should be doing. So, but yes. But now Josh Allen is, kind of coming, he's coming up in the names of being one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. I agree being, he's gone through, I don't know, a lot and being able to go ahead and come this far and bring the Buffalo Bills, come on, to a Super Bowl. See, I wanted them in the Super Bowl. It would have been nice to see them in the Super Bowl, but, come along this far in the playoffs. So, and Josh Allen, he was a quarterback that was just kind of starting to be forgotten about or just discounted. And look what he was able to go ahead and do this season and how far he was able to come. Unfortunately, that was cut short a little bit. I don't think given the proper opportunity to go ahead and defeat, or defend that. But, but yeah, I think he's getting up there.
Yeah. And talk about Allen having the ultimate chip on his shoulder, right, Joanna? Going to Wyoming, he had no offers. Nobody was really checking for Josh Allen before he went to the University of Wyoming. And then even then he was kind of people were developed a check-in for him, and they were like, oh my gosh, this kid in Wyoming's pretty good. Josh Allen, we need to take a look at him. And of course, Buffalo gave him that opportunity and brought him on. And my gosh, has he not delivered ever since he's gotten there, and he's gotten better year after year. And I love the way he runs the football, Joanna. That is a powerful, punishing quarterback that likes to run. Or how did they say it on the broadcast? A quarterback playing running back, and Mahomes is a quarterback that likes to run, but Josh Allen is a quarterback that can actually double as a running back. He is so big and physical, and the way he's able to hurdle players, and he's so physical. He loves to hit defensive players, and every time he does that, I kind of cringe. I'm like, Josh, I know you're physical and you can do this, but I don't want if I'm Sean McDermott, the head coach of the Bills, I don't want my franchise taking that many licks. Even though he's strong and he can take those hits, Joanna, I still don't want my guy doing that.
Yeah, no, definitely. That can be very, very concerning. But I do want to go ahead and move on to what we have coming up this weekend. And I'm going to go ahead and just plow through these of the matchups of who's facing who, and then give our predictions of who will be going to the Super Bowl. So we have Cincinnati Bengals at Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium. So this is going to be, I'm actually looking forward to this. This is going to be great. Two young quarterbacks going at it. And you're looking at the numbers. They're pretty matched up well. So there's not too much of a difference that one has more advantage over the other. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you on this one. Who are you taking in this game?
I'm going to go with Mahomes and the Chiefs. I don't know what the status of Tyrann Mathieu is going to be. Of course, he was knocked out of the Buffalo game with a concussion, and we saw the impact that made him not being back there in the secondary, Joanna. They had all kinds of communication issues. The Chiefs secondary did. So if Matthew's not there, hopefully he clears the protocol and that brother can play on Sunday, because we know when he's out there, he is a difference maker. He was a difference maker here for the Cardinals, and of course, he's doing it for the Chiefs. So they desperately need him in that secondary to keep that communication strong, because if not, Joe Burrow is going to slice them to pieces with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, C.J. Uzoma, Joe Mixon. They'll work him out of the backfield. He's got so many weapons, and he will destroy the Chiefs if they can't get those communications issues together and get that all cleaned up. But ultimately, I think Kansas City, I think just the experience factor of them being to their 4th straight AFC championship game is going to lend a lot of them as far as beating the Bengals. But I expect it to be a close game. It'll be a fun game. I hope it's as fun as Buffalo and KC was, because that would make for a great AFC title game. But definitely. I'm going KC.
Okay. Definitely. I don't think this is going to be one of the, we have what we saw last weekend. If this sets a precedent of what we're going to have this coming weekend, I think we should better, strap onto our seats.
Yeah.
But I will go ahead and take Cincinnati on that one, though. I am going to go ahead and change course on that, because I think Joe Burrow is, out there to prove himself, and he's, we said it, he's hungry. So it's gonna be a great game, and I'm going for the away team. So I know we've seen a little bit of all the home team winning except one. Then we have all the visiting teams winning except one. So see how this weekend goes. But I'm going to go ahead and go with Cincinnati Bengals. Go ahead and going into the second game of the weekend. This will be Sunday evening, SoFi Stadium, San Francisco 49ers and Los Angeles Rams. 2 California teams going at it head to head, which I do not like and I do not agree with. That will be another time for that rant. But Ed, how do you see this faring off? Who do you go ahead and take in this matchup?
As much as I want the 49ers to make it, because they're on an incredible run on a 3-game road winning streak, I just think it ends on Sunday against the Rams. That defense, them at home, Matthew Stafford's going to have I think he's going to have a huge game at home in his first title game appearance in his career. And if Garoppolo doesn't if Garoppolo doesn't go stride for stride, step for step with what Matthew Stafford's going to do, then the 49ers are going to have a long day. Of course, a couple of weeks ago, they beat them at SoFi to actually qualify for the playoffs. But I think the Rams clearly have revenge on their minds. They're at home. They want to host the Super Bowl in 2 more weeks after Championship Sunday. So I think the Rams have all the absolute clear motivation to win this game, stay home for the next couple of weeks, and then host the Super Bowl. So I think the Rams are going to win this game. It's going to be a tight one because it's a division rival. Their 3rd time meeting each other this year. So the 49ers won the first 2. The Rams are, again, clearly looking for revenge. They want to knock off the 49ers and become NFC champions for the first time in 5 years? I think the last time is when they played the Patriots a few years ago. So they're looking for another NFC championship game, NFC championship within the last 4 or 5 years. So they want to repeat as champions and go back to the Super Bowl. So long story short, the Rams.
I'm like, okay.
Okay, get to your point.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and take Jimmy G. I've been Jimmy G. Fan, a secret fan of Jimmy G. For some, well, maybe not so secret. Some know, some don't. But and I've been following him, and he's a force to to watch out for. So especially after seeing how he came out against Aaron Rodgers and what he was able to do and stop Aaron Rodgers, he has a chance in going and taking his 49ers to the Super Bowl. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm sticking to that answer. That's my final answer. Jimmy G goes ahead and shuts down Stafford and the Rams.
Mm-hmm. I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if your picks came true and Cincinnati and San Francisco won and they be a rematch of the 88 Super Bowl, 88, 89. No, that was the 82 Super Bowl when they met in Detroit in Pontiac. That was the 49ers and the Bengals that year, which is still the most watched event on television history. Did you know that? A bit of trivia. That Super Bowl that the 49ers and the Bengals played back in 1982 was still the most watched television event ever.
I had no idea.
Well, you do now.
Yeah, nice little trivia. Thank you. Did you know? But yeah, who knows? I'm picking the away teams. You are going with the home teams. Is that right?
Yes. And the answer to your
All right.
question, the answer to your question beyond this is yes. So let's
All
go.
right. So, all right. So, should we
Well,
place a little wager on this ad?
I'm not a bettor. I mean, we can
I
bet
said
lunch or we can bet lunch or dinner or something. That's about it.
all right. We'll go ahead and do that. We'll have a little wager on a little dinner because we know how we love our food. So, all right. So I have Bengals and the 49ers for the Super Bowl. You have the Rams
And the Chiefs.
and Human X-Files.
Yes.
So,
Oh.
so all right. So that wraps up our NFL segment. So we're gonna go ahead and go in and dive into our little bit of NBA. We're gonna go ahead and plow through this a little bit. I want to go ahead and talk a little bit of Suns, of course. Surprise, not much, granted, to be expected. But I want to go ahead and just touch on a news that was announced earlier today with the GM, Ed, for the Phoenix Suns, James Jones. His contract has been extended. So he's been doing a phenomenal with the Phoenix Suns, been able to go ahead and do make all these transactions, bring on these players, create a great organization with the team and taking them to the finals. Monty Williams in that addition. So I am so happy to see that he will go ahead and remain with the Suns a little bit longer.
I could not be more overjoyed as well for the Suns and James Jones to come to that agreement for that extension. He is well deserved of that. The reigning NBA Executive of the Year over the last 2 seasons, Joanna, they're 88-30. As you mentioned, an NBA Finals berth last year. And for what Jones has done, again, as you mentioned, bringing in so many players, Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, Cameron Payne, they re-signed him, Frank Kaminsky, Sarge, JaVale McGee, who's been nothing but a godsend for them from an offensive and defensive standpoint. And the most recent addition, Bismack Biyombo, he's come in and is absolutely taking this basketball team by storm. He's come in the 10 games or so he's played with them. He's already embodying what the Phoenix Suns are trying to do when they're trying to get back to the finals and win a championship. But it's just the knack of Jones to see this talent, Joanna, to sniff it out and say, okay, this guy would be a great fit for my organization. Jay Crowder, he'd be great to bring over from Miami because he's got that grit, that determination. He's got that championship caliber. He went to the NBA Finals the year before they signed him. So he knows how to scout out talent and look across the NBA and see the right men that he wants in this organization. And he and Monty Williams have absolutely changed the culture and the dynamic of this basketball team and this entire organization, Joanna. In just a few short years, they've been at the helm of this thing. And it's great for Robert Sarver, the managing partner, the owner of the Suns, to sit back, hand the reins, hand the keys to the Lamborghini over to Jones and Monty Williams and let them run the ship. And they've run it to near perfection.
Yeah, definitely. You said it, near perfection. They just have a chemistry. You mentioned those pieces, key factors that he has been able to go ahead and implement, how he's been able to go ahead in these last couple of years, been able to turn around the Phoenix Suns, because those were a rough 10 years, or so, where the Phoenix Suns were not the Phoenix Suns that we know, love, and they like to go ahead and compete. When he was able to go ahead and completely turn that around, going into the bubble, going undefeated in the bubble, then go ahead and making, a run and to the postseason and the playoffs. In the playoffs, and then to the WNBA finals. So, and he also was winner of the 2021 NBA Executive of the Year award. So, which is now he's in his 3rd season and probably is even close to go ahead and maybe even having that award earned again this coming, for this season. So he's just been a tremendous factor for the Phoenix Suns and for also the Phoenix Mercury, which we will go ahead and talk here momentarily. So definitely earned, well-deserved for James Jones. And you did mention Biyombo, which I want to go ahead and go into that next, Ed, is that addition to the Phoenix Suns. Biyombo came into the Phoenix Suns for a contract of 10 days with the way that the NBA went ahead and structured with the whole COVID, resurgence with Omicron and players being out or injured and etc. All of that, how it affected them. Came in for 10 days. He proved himself. He has been, defensive, offensive, the steals, the blocks, like everything, like just quickness, agile. He just has everything that you want in, someone who can go ahead and defend and be there and protect your team and then just capitalize in those moments, and has been a great addition in combination with DeAndre Ayton and JaVale McGee, and it just flows and it's seamless. And, and they went ahead and extended him for the rest of the year. And I give them props. And this is a player that not only for this year, but for many years, whether that's 2 or 3, he deserves a contract extension with the Phoenix Suns, because he is definitely one of the key pieces that will get them to not only to the playoffs, but even get Phoenix Suns a run to the NBA title again.
I agree with you 10,000,000% on everything you said, Joanna. I've been following Bismack ever since he was in Charlotte and in Toronto and Orlando. I've always loved the way Biyombo played the game of basketball for those organizations. And the minute I heard that the Suns had brought him in for a 10-day contract, I was like, oh, bravo. That is going to be a fantastic fit. Just another one of those puzzle pieces that fit perfectly for the Phoenix Suns, Joanna. He's averaging, in the 9 games he's played, he's averaging 11 points, about 8 rebounds and 1.2 blocks per game. So he has come in and just embodied what the Phoenix Suns are trying to do. He's got it down. He understands what needs to be done to win basketball games for this team, and he just fits right in. Another one of those, he's fitting like a glove. This is the Phoenix Suns right here, Joanna. This is the Suns right here. This is Bismack. Boom, right over top of it. It's just a perfect fit. I love it. And as you mentioned, he should get an extension once the season is over, because they need to keep him for the long haul, because he is a Phoenix Sun, and he will help guide them hopefully back to the NBA Finals and maybe a world championship.
Yes, definitely. And that's what definitely you can tell the Suns are doing. They're on another winning streak, 7. Now they won all of their 5 road games. They came back home. They went ahead and won their home game last night, and against the Utah Jazz, got a little bit ugly for a second, but they were go ahead and be able to pull through. Biyombo does his what he does. Devin Booker ahead, being legendary. CP3 doing and bringing in those assists and being able to go ahead and put those pieces into play to give the Suns the win. And Biyombo, just want to mention he does go ahead and keep wrapping up those double-doubles since joining the team. So some stats we were talking about before the game, just on the last 4 games, Ed, he has 15.8 points and 11 rebounds. So there is your double-double, and something that you definitely should do not expect anything less from when Biyombo is out on the court. But then one of the things too with the Phoenix Suns is that they are also number 1 in the NBA. So they fall off from number 1, but they went ahead and reclaimed their spot. So they are, have been neck and neck, and the Golden State Warriors and the Phoenix Suns battling, that position, but not only in the Western Conference, number 1 in the NBA.
Yes. And just a couple more bullet points to all the stuff that you just put out there. The Suns have won the last 30 games when they've had a double-digit lead. That just lets you know when they get that lead, Joanna, they're not relinquishing anything. They're not giving nothing up. And also on that 5-game road trip during their 6-game winning streak, they've trailed by double digits 3 times. Remember the deficit in San Antonio, the deficit in Dallas that they were able to rally back from. It's just, they know when it's time to turn it on, they get down. They don't get down on themselves. Yes, the deficit may be, double digits, but they're confident enough in themselves, Joanna. They believe in themselves enough. They've been through the ups and downs. They've been through the wars and the battles and just attrition. They've suffered through so much, and they still have the best record in the NBA. And they're able to rally back because they have the ultimate confidence and belief in themselves, Joanna, that they're never out of a basketball game, and they're not.
Yeah, and they're not. They have a family. And they say that they are a family. Monty Williams says it. James Jones, and they have that camaraderie. They're always together for the most part. Even if they're injured, they're still there supporting each other. We saw Jay Crowder he's injured. He's out with the wrist injury. He's still there supporting the team and, helping each other out, DeAndre, and the same. So that's one of the thing, components in that, having that unity is a major factor for this Phoenix Suns. And, it's also despite the Phoenix Suns, yes, like being affected by injuries. So when you had players that were out when they finally did get hit with COVID after having that wave, and having these 10 contract guys and implementing them, they had a little bit of rough times or rough moments, but they were still able to go ahead and capitalize and get those wins in, and being able to go ahead and put those, it's like just playing that chess pieces properly how you best could, and be able to go ahead and win. And that's one of the things and benefits with the Phoenix Suns, and where James Jones is just phenomenal at what he does, and not even and even Monty Williams.
Joanna, over the course of 82 games, it's never going to be a perfect game. There's never going to be any perfect scenarios in any of the 82 games that a basketball team plays throughout the course of the season. There's going to be ups and downs, highs and lows, so many different games to celebrate, and games that you're just like, can we just pack that thing away and just come back the next day? But the fact that, yes, you lose DeAndre Ayton, yes, you lose Jay Crowder to injury, but the depth that this basketball team has, next man up theory. We always talk about that in sports. Isn't that one of our main mantras that we always talk about in sports, Joanna? When guys go down, whether it's injury or what have you, the next man has to step up and perform. And they do. Like against Utah. Cam Johnson, it gets 20 points. CP3 gets 27. D-Book gets 33. Off the bench, Biyombo gets 16 and 13. So you've got individual players. Yes, it is a team sport, but individuals step up at the most opportune times for this basketball team to rally them to a victory, and they get it.
Yes, most definitely. You said it there. And one of the other, I'm going to go ahead and with that move into our WNBA ladies with the Phoenix Mercury. Moving on up, and they have announced their new head coach, Vanessa Nygaard. She's actually a Scottsdale native, and she's also herself a former WNBA player. So we know the Mercury did, and Sandy Brondello did decide to part ways. Sandy is now coach for the New York Liberty. So she's going to be paving the way there, and with the talent that Sandy has and what she was able to go ahead and bring to the Phoenix Mercury in those 8 years, 4 WNBA finals, 3 NBA titles. I don't remember how many road trips to the playoffs they had. That number escapes me right now, but she's I'm sure going to go ahead and continue doing phenomenal things with the New York Liberty, and maybe even bring them their first WNBA title, because the Liberty, they're also great, and to be with UNESCO, being able to go ahead and coach that wonderful lady out there and the talent that she is, and Sandy, combine those two pieces. I think those two are going to be power forces, but nothing but congratulations and the best wishes to Sandy, and a huge thank you for her being able to be a part of the organization and the Phoenix Mercury and coaching these wonderful ladies. But welcome to Coach Vanessa Nygaard. So she brings in a fresh take to the organization. She was an assistant coach to the Las Vegas Aces, who with the Las Vegas Aces also did take a trip to the WNBA playoffs, which that also made a great playoff run in matchup for the Mercury. Because, oh my gosh, if you were there, you would have lost your total sanity. But it just brings in a fresh take. She's gonna they're bringing in a little bit more on the player angle. She said she's excited to go ahead and be forming part of the team. Grateful to have this opportunity. And then one of her first things of business is to go ahead and touch with the players, which I thought that was really cool, and just making that initial contact and getting to know them. There's still going to be a lot to come with the as she gets implemented and we go ahead and get closer to the season kickoff. But we also have free agency that is just days away, which is February 1. And they're just looking to go ahead and make everything, having a team that they can go ahead and bring those pieces together, and being able to go ahead and make another run to the WNBA finals and bring that title home. So they're just looking to have the best team all around, and seeing how those pieces play out come in the next week.
I think it's a great story because Coach Nygaard is from Arizona. She was born in Scottsdale. Her father went to the University
Mhm.
of Arizona. Her mom went to ASU. One of her brothers, I believe, just moved to Tucson, and so she's clearly an Arizona native. So that is a really good story that she is able to coach her hometown team, be the head coach of the Phoenix Mercury, as you mentioned, one of the WNBA finalists last year, and they're stacked with a bona fide Hall of Famers, not just a Hall of Famer, not one,
Mhm.
but two, possibly three or four. As long as these young ladies' careers continue on, a lot of them
So
could be
much
Hall of
talent
Famers.
there.
Yeah, so much talent there that she's got at her disposal. But as you mentioned, it's great that she'll be able to get in contact with the GOAT. That she'll get in contact with Brittany Griner and all the other young ladies, and just as you mentioned, start to build a relationship. They get to know her, she gets to know them. Then eventually they'll get together and start practicing, and they'll start chopping up, watching film, and just getting prepared. And as you mentioned, free agencies here, she'll start to evaluate her basketball team and see who she needs to add, what other young ladies she needs to add to her roster as far as basketball players are concerned. I'm sure she's thinking about her coaching staff, who her assistant coaches are going to be. She's got to assemble all that and get all that together, and it's a lot for her to take on, but it was a lifelong dream of hers, and now she's got it. She's the head coach of the Phoenix Mercury, and I'm happy for Coach Nygaard, and let her get to work and hopefully get those ladies back to the WNBA finals.
Yeah, she did share in the press conference on her road because it wasn't easy. She always knew she wanted to be a WNBA coach, but she had to pave her way and pay her dues, of course. And she did make it. She had to start, high school and worked her way up. And she's, assistant coach, and now she's, a WNBA coach. So I am very, very excited. And at that, thought of a little story that she shared also during her press conference when she was announced and speaking to the media. On her way here, her son told her that she's now the shepherd.
Yeah.
And she's like, "What?" She's like, "Well, you have the goat. You have to take care of the goat." Diana Taurasi, the goat. She's now the
Absolutely.
shepherd. So I thought that was so cute.
And
So
another great quote. She was like, so we were talking about her building her staff. We mentioned it in free agency. She's like, I'm just going to stay awake for the next, I don't know, year. Not much
yes,
sleep over the next year or so.
stay awake. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's great. So she's awesome. She's gonna bring amazing things to the organization. Excited
Good for her.
for the Mercury and what they have, ahead. And they just have all around tremendous players. Many Hall of Famers that we have in this team currently, and what they're gonna go ahead and bring on, and hopefully they don't make. I hope they just make the necessary adjustments, and we don't see too many of these players leave the Mercury because they just all bond so well, and they're just like the Phoenix Suns. Like all those pieces, like a glove, like you say, Ed, just fall together. So no, and we'll see by the next show. We'll go ahead and be able to go ahead and bring more of that to you of what those changes, if any, are for the Phoenix Mercury.
There really shouldn't be a whole lot of changes.
Are you ready to talk?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was saying, with a team that just made a WNBA finals appearance, depending on who leaves, as far as what ladies leave, and there really shouldn't be a whole lot of changes she has to do as far as additions. Of course, she'll again scour that free agent market and see who can come on and make this organization better. Of course, she'll bring on who she can, within financial means and a roster, with roster limitations on who she can have and who she can't have. But from a team that was just on the cusp of a world championship, she's in good position.
Yeah, she's in good position. There was, comment made that, it'll be addressed, and they're looking just to go ahead and make the team better. Hopefully not. There are some free agents and restricted free agents. So we'll see what happens with that and what decisions they decide to make there and how that all pans out. But I agree, there are not too many pieces, and we shouldn't expect too much of a change with the Phoenix Mercury team. Hopefully just additions and no other takeaways, there. But we'll, we still are a few days away from that free agency. So we'll definitely know more February 1st. But go ahead, and I'm going to talk and go into a little bit of MLB, and I might go into a couple of rants here. So number one, I'm just going to go ahead and go on, go rip off the Band-Aid and say how not happy I am with MLB. And now and with the MLB lockout, still no agreement. Am I surprised? No, completely not surprised. I expected it. Monday, MLB and MLBPA, they met. They didn't come to an agreement. However, they decide to go ahead on a meet for a second day, a continuous day, to hopefully come to an agreement. And once again, they did not come to an agreement there. Now has been reports out there saying that owners are expected to go ahead and have games to not be played. So it seems like they have some type of agreement that if it does this, that does become a factor, which it seems like it will. That's something that has been in the back of my mind, and I'm thinking, we're not going to come to an agreement at all, and it's definitely going to affect spring training and definitely going to affect the regular season if we have a season at all. So we'll see how long this goes, because I can't remember how many days the last lockout, the longest lockout was. I'm sure you'll probably have that here in a second, Ed, but that did span. It was a span of 100, almost 200 days, if I remember correctly. 172, maybe more, give or take.
232.
Oh, 232. Okay, thank you. 232.
Mm-hmm.
So that's almost
the 94-95 strike.
Yep. So I think we probably may see ourselves going that route, being that everything that's been proposed just keeps getting knocked down, and they're just not even coming to anywhere close to coming to, in the same playground. So I am very, very disappointed. And right now I'm thankful that I have the Suns in basketball and WNBA coming up, because if it wouldn't be for that, I'll probably in the NFL with all that action, because if not, I probably would be going into baseball withdrawals, which I haven't since the season ended. But Ed, your thoughts on that lockout?
It's unfortunate, because what it does is it beyond MLB and the players' organization and the players themselves, what does it really hurt, Joanna? It hurts the fans. It hurts for spring training. It hurts the fans that flock to Arizona and Florida, that come here every single year and go to Florida every single year for the Grapefruit League. Revenue, yes. It hurts all the workers at these ballparks that rely on these spring training games every single year for their livelihood. It really hurts that if we're not going to have spring training, all of those men and women are going to be out of work. Those paychecks that they're expecting every single spring training, every single March and April or for spring training is gone. And again, the fans are hurt because they don't get to see their favorite players or their favorite would-be players as they're trying to figure out who's the next upcoming stars in their favorite baseball team. And it really just, it hurts that. And again, it paints another black eye on Major League Baseball for any potential millennials, any potential fans that may have a passing interest in this game, Joanna, that, MLB and the player in the association and the union, they can't get this all together. Why would I want to watch this sport when there is such disarray, when there's such chaos at the top of these organizations? Why in the world would I want to waste my time or waste my gas money or any of my money to go to a ballpark and see a baseball game, spend all this money when these organizations clearly have disdain for themselves, disdains for each other? They got to get this thing together, because as each passing day goes by, we talked about it, when we were missing those games because of COVID, it's just that the interest continues to die every single day. But fans you could have brought on, they're backing off. And you may never get them on board, Joanna.
Yeah, and this is the first time that they actually have back-to-back negotiations or meetings since the lockout initiated on December 2nd. But this is something I want to go ahead and read to you that I came across reading an article. But it was just due to the tension and just not being able to go ahead and come to an agreement. Ben Nicholson-Smith of Sportsnet went ahead and reported this or posted this in his social media, that the league had expressed willingness to accept the forfeiture of regular season games as the lockout drags on. So the MLB continues to, have some type of hope that a collective bargaining agreement will go ahead and come to fruition. I don't know that. I don't see that that's going to happen anytime soon. If really the MLB was really smart and really wanted to go ahead and avoid any type of lockout or be in the situation like we are time and time again every 5 years, 7 years, whatever it may be, whether that's a few weeks to months or to almost a year, you would start these negotiations sooner. Why not doing during the season? Or as you know that's in your last year, have those continuous meetings, or on the off season before leading up to that, final year of your collective bargaining agreement about to expire. Like, we don't see other really, we see certain dynamics and certain things happen between the players associations and the leagues, but MLB is the one that's really has the major effect, and it just doesn't think ahead or doesn't decides to just not come to agreements, and they just rather lose money than have to come in this battle, and just forfeit. So and the players, they're not happy, they're mad, they want to come to an agreement because they want to get paid, they want to go ahead and go into sign a contract, sign an extension, or decide not put their game, the career on hold. So, but this is just something that just, well, either side, they just don't see eye to eye. So, and it's just really unfortunate. And I think just MLB needs to get it all together, all around, period, and find a way that where this can go ahead and be more effective, to where they're not losing their time, they're not losing money, not only them, but just everyone around involved. And this is one of the reasons why MLB is losing fans. This is plain simple. This is the major aspect of it. And instead of being able to engage fans, or, we have, which we'll go ahead and get into, the wonderful news of David Ortiz being inducted into the Hall of Fame. But you know what? It's being overshadowed because of a lockout. This should be phenomenal, great news. The fourth Dominican Republic to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Me, a Hispanic, myself, and being able to go ahead and see one of my own being inducted. What he, the player that he was, he went out on top, and especially being a lone player, which is something that you haven't had, I don't know if ever, how many years, being a lone player inducted into the Hall of Fame, being enshrined, and being able to go ahead and celebrate that. But you know what? It's being overshadowed because of MLB and the lockout situation. So he doesn't, gonna get all the praise or all, it's just really unfortunate, and it really pisses me off.
It is. As you mentioned, there's millions of people like you and I that just love this game of baseball, and we're just devastated right now because both sides can't come to an agreement. It's great that they met a couple times, they've met in succession, but nothing's been hammered out. And the more they continue to let this thing linger on and just continue to just sit there with no resolve, nothing being resolved, nothing coming to a concrete conclusion, and we know if spring training is going to start, if we're going to get the season started on time, if there's clear definition on, yes, I guess we're going to miss a number of a good number of baseball games, but at least we'll get a full season in. We don't know any of that. We have no idea what the future of this 2022-23 season is right now, because they cannot get this thing figured out. And of course, it always comes down to money, and when billions of dollars are concerned, there's always going to be fighting back and forth. There's going to be, it's so unfortunate because it's such a wonderful sport with so many wonderful, outstanding, incredible athletes that we don't get to see because they haven't worked this thing out. And there's no sign that it's going to come to a clear resolution anytime soon.
Yeah, definitely. And I love baseball. It's my favorite sport. It's my first love, like I say, Ed. But this is one of the things that really just gets at me, and just, being able to, it's a beautiful sport. Being able to see it and enjoy it, and for MLB to be able to capitalize it in so many forms and ways, and right now, which they're not taking advantage of, like we talked about during the pandemic, in which they could have been the only team or the only sport that could have been active and playing, but because they couldn't come to an agreement, they lost out on that. They lost out on that fan base. They lost out on that money and that revenue, and being able to go ahead and expose some of those players more, and introducing them to those new players, and getting that, that exposure. And that's just the same, we're coming to something similar, not losing out on so many things that also come along with that. And also being, like I mentioned, being overshadowed with the Hall of Fame induction for David Ortiz or the news, that also takes away with it. Instead of shining light and being, hey, this is a, just something, historic and phenomenal, it's just not being that. So MLB has a lot of things that they need to work on in order to avoid this. Hopefully they come to something smarter, a better way to go ahead and be able to go ahead and handle and come to collective bargaining agreements before they actually come to an end. Or if they do decide, or it does come to them not having a decision, in place, and it does linger on further than the expiration date, that is not going closer and lingering towards to spring training. Because what happened, there was no negotiation, there was no action, there was no anything, no contact, no conversation about it for over a month. Why I understand there's the holidays, okay, yeah, take a couple of weeks off, whatever, whatnot, be with your families, I get it. But why not come back, okay, immediately after the holidays, a week after the holidays and everything, start trying to have some type of conversations, bring something on the table. And that wasn't happening. They just decided to just not have any type of negotiations happen. So I can go ahead and keep going on about this. That's my rant with the MLB lockout. They need to work it out.
Yep. Work it out. Because we want baseball back as quick as possible. We want it.
Yeah, and it's not making me happy. It's making me angry. So moving on to better and greater news. So wonderful news. And we'll go ahead and celebrate this and not have it be overshadowed and give him his own light and shine, is Mr. David Ortiz, Big Papi, like we said it many, many times here on the show during this last over hour of the show. We're in overtime right now. Lone Hall of Fame inductee, 4th Dominican Republic player to be enshrined into the Hall of Fame. Ed, this is just wonderful news. You saw my reaction when I was watching that video and his announcement, or given the wonderful news. I almost cried and lost my own sanity.
For him to go in, for him to go in alongside Juan Marichal, Pedro Martinez, Vladimir Guerrero, and now he's the 4th, as you mentioned, Dominican Republic player from the DR to get in. What other person embodies the Hall of Famer, a baseball Hall of Famer, than Big Papi? What he did with the Boston Red Sox over the 14 years he was there. You and I were kicking around stats and numbers. In 2016, his last year, Joanna, this is how productive Big Papi was at the DH position for Boston. That year, he had 38 home runs as a DH. His last season in Major League Baseball, 6 years ago, 127 RBIs in his last year, Joe, 48 doubles. On base percent, his slugging was 620. He was a 300-plus hitter that year. In his final year in baseball, Joanna, his production never dropped off once he left Minnesota and went to Boston in 2003. And of course, he led him to 3 world championships, and he was a 7-time Silver Slugger, 10-time All-Star. He was a World Series MVP, ALCS MVP. What more could that man put on his resume than that? Now it is that he's a Hall of Famer, the ultimate reward and the ultimate way for a baseball player to be recognized as a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
And he is the perfect embodiment of a baseball Hall of Famer. Big Papi.
Yes, definitely. You want to know what else you can go ahead and add to that? Yeah, first ballot Hall of Famer. No, yeah, you took it. You as you said that you took it from. Stop getting into my head. See, now I have nothing to go off of. But first ballot Hall of Famer.
You can piggyback off. You can piggyback off of what I said and put your own spin on it. Put your own spin on it.
75% he got.
77.
77.9% in his first year. You know what? So what was awesome as watching that video and him getting the news, Pedro Martinez being alongside him.
That was really cool.
That was wonderful. This is something I want to go ahead and read, which almost, this got me a little sentimental, but this is a quote from David Ortiz that he says, "I learned not too long ago how difficult it is to get in on the first ballot. Man, it's a wonderful honor to be able to get in on my first rodeo. It's something that is very special to me." So if you're any type of athlete player and if that's something I know a lot of, I would think every single player, that's their dream of getting into the Hall of Fame, whether that's the MLB, NBA, NFL, etc. How difficult that is, and he was able to go ahead and maintain that consistency, like you mentioned. That he just, he did have his injuries and his, times where he, wasn't all, at the top level. But he still, like, when he played, he never faltered off. He kept going, like, to his last game that he played. He still hit if I remember correctly, he still hit a home run. So, so yeah, like, he's just a full embodiment, and being able to go ahead and do this and just beat the lone guy. Like, it's gonna be a party out there. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do or what I have to do, but I will be there celebrating this guy in Cooperstown this summer.
Are you going? That'd be fun.
Shoot, why not? I missed Mariano Rivera being inducted into the Hall of Fame and being in Cooperstown, unfortunately, which was a major dream and goal of mine. But hey, why not David Ortiz?
Well, you've got 6 months to plan on it, Joanna. July 24th over in Cooperstown. That's when he's going to get inducted. Get your plans together now to go see Big Papi get inducted into the Hall of Fame. But wow, I'm sure the Red Sox have got to be Papi named a Hall of Famer. My gosh, that's incredible. Love the way he played the game of baseball and his attitude. He had such a fun-loving attitude. And is he not incredible on these broadcasts in the postseason?
I love him. Yeah,
he is awesome. I love him.
He's awesome. Just like he just brings a whole different vibe and just energy. Yeah. Just his persona. Like I haven't had the opportunity to meet him yet, but like I just can't say just be like, hey, I just think you're just the best.
Yeah, he's got to be such a cool dude in person.
He has a contagious attitude.
Yeah.
Vibe.
Yep. Yeah, that's great. Good for him. 78% of the of the votes to get in on his first ballot. That's impressive.
Yeah, very, very, very impressive. But with that, we also have some players that did not get on the ballot, which they will fall off. One of those being Sammy Sosa, only receiving 73% of the votes. This was his final year on the ballot. We also have Curt Schilling with 231 votes that only marked him at 58.6%. Also his final year on the ballot. He will fall off. Roger Clemens, only 257 votes, marking him at 65.2%, his final year on the ballot. And we also have who was second to David Ortiz, Barry Bonds, 260 votes at 66%, also his final year on the ballot. But with that, we also have players that received less than 5%, which will also be dropped off future ballots. So in order to remain on the ballot, you have to receive 5% or more. Just some of these familiar names are Mark Teixeira, Prince Fielder, Jake Peavy, Carl Crawford, Tim Lincecum, just to name a few of those names. I won't go into the entire list. But one of the names that you and I were talking as we were prepping for this show is Omar Vizquel. He's one that has been on the ballot for several years now, and still just does not receive enough votes. And I think he is, one that should go enshrined into Cooperstown. Unfortunately, we will go ahead and see that happen. I can't recall how many years he has left on the ballot. But he only received 94% of the votes, less than 25. Another one, Andy Pettitte, only receiving 42% of the votes, marking him at just shy of 11%. So we have some other names here. We have Manny Ramirez. He's at 29% of the votes. We have Alex Rodriguez, which we also had a conversation about that. He only received 135% at 34% of the votes. So will Alex Rodriguez eventually make it into the Hall of Fame is a question that we had, or was his PEDs situation something that may have tarnished his ticket to Cooperstown?
I think it has. Also, what the whole Balco thing with Bonds and Clemens, all the stuff that went on with Clemens, and then Curt Schilling, all of his off the field things, Joanna, with all of his social media shenanigans, that really hurt his chances of getting into the Hall of Fame, because if you base numbers on what Bonds did before he started enhancing his body. Those numbers in Pittsburgh when he was with the Pirates before all that stuff happened and he started taking all those before PEDs, that was worthy of Hall of Fame material right there. What he did in Pittsburgh was nothing short of stunning. My gosh, every single year Bonds, he would get up there, have a phenomenal season, just hit a lot of home runs and be great defensively, but he got himself in trouble with those PEDs. But so I think those are the things that doomed him, just like Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire. Everything that they did to enhance their bodies that was illegal to Major League Baseball, it's what's keeping them out of the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, I would have to agree that did affect him. He does recognize that that was something that he didn't, does regret and is a mistake. He owns it, lives up to, lived up to those mistakes. Unfortunately, yes, it's gonna, tarnish him there. Definitely a Hall of Famer, I would say, aside from, just him as a player and take away that, when that occurred, definitely would have granted him that Hall of Fame and ticket to the Hall of Fame to Cooperstown. But, we still have left to be seen what will come of it. Who knows? But with that wraps up our MLB segment. But our show does come to an end here. But one thing that I do look forward to amidst the whole MLB lockout and then NFL coming to an end here shortly, what is the season that's coming up?
What?
March Madness, NCAA basketball tournament. March Madness is on the horizon and the excitement is about to commence. We know that once February starts, the road to March Madness begins. So get ready for a wild ride and seeing what's going to happen with all of these great basketball teams, Villanova, Gonzaga, which are my Bulldogs, but future alma mater. But I'm so excited. But you also have Purdue, you also have Notre, all these other great teams. So see how get a little bit more into that, which we'll go ahead and bringing you more coverage and information on that on the coming shows and as we get closer to March Madness. But Ed, we have to say goodbye to our people for now until next week. Of course, we did bring everyone an extended show today with all the NFL action.
But next week will be so awesome because we'll recap championship weekend, which should be two phenomenal games and whatever else happens in the world of sports. But I'm sure we'll center ourselves on what happened in the AFC championship and the NFC championship games.
Yes, definitely. So we'll see if I'm a little bit more shattered next weekend or less shattered. Because obviously this weekend I'm not as shattered as I thought I was going to be with my two guys being out of the run. But definitely it's an excitement and excited to see who will make it to the Super Bowl and who will be right and who will be wrong and who gets a free dinner. So, because I think I already know where I'm gonna want to go, but I will divulge that information later. So,
what?
You giving me a look, Ed?
What do you mean you already know where you want to go?
If I win the dinner on our wager, a friendly wager.
No, the way you said it made it seem like you knew you had it in the bag.
No, I know where I want to go.
Social media time. So how about those Bulldogs?
Like that.
How about those Bulldogs, huh? Number 2 in the country, 15-2.
Bulldogs. Go Zags. All right.
Yeah.
Social media time. Oh, goodness. Yes. Well, next week we will go ahead and bring you more of the NFL action, more NBA and everything that's all around encompassing the world of sports. But Ed, let our awesome people know where it is that they go ahead and find you.
Of course, on Twitter at EdCole43, Instagram at EdwardCole301, here on Inside Sports Network, on Facebook at Edward Cole, and yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
All right. Oh, goodness. You can go ahead and find me, Joanna Rosalie, on both Instagram and Twitter at JRosalie. That's JROSALYE. You can find Insight Sports Network on Instagram at Insight Sports Net. You can find us on Twitter at Insight Sports _. Everyone, thank you for joining us in this wonderful show. Until next time, this was Insight Sports Talk.